could he go in and run for dean?
Wait a minute. Listen, boss, I've been in the big leagues 14 years and I never appeared in a World Series. Please give me a chance so I can tell my grandchildren.
Oh, go ahead, boss. What do you got to lose? We're 7 runs ahead.
You heard what he said.
Dean is up, folks, and here comes the first pitch.
You're out.
Hold on, Peter. Haven't you ever been on TV before? I'm sure you have.
Yeah, I mean, I was kind of reported on TV.
Well,
you know, it was just a little misunderstanding with the local gendarmes.
well, we won't get into lawsuits. I'm still being sued by the mayor. Now we're live. You have to mind your P's and Q's. No F-bombing. You know, when I first got a show, was it three years ago, there was a pool in my family. How long would it take me for F-bomb on the air? My brother Guy, who was visiting, you know, the guy who lives in England, took a week. My sister Debbie took 2 weeks. But the eldest, Claudia, took over 2 weeks. And she won. I've never F-bombed. I think I almost F-bombed on another show, but no. That's another show.
You probably pooped bombed, but that's another question.
Hey, welcome to the Mr. Baseball show. Mr. Baseball is not here. So we have this nice globe, you know, to sit in for him. Since, you know, he's you know, an immigrant. Hey, Peter Stiller, introduce yourself to the audience here at the Mr. Baseball show.
Well,
is that hard?
I've known Mr. Hopwood for quite some time, and I know him to be well-versed in baseball history, and he certainly knows his way around the game. And we've shared many baseball moments over the years, you know, some joyously, some agonizingly, but I think we can both speak to the topic of baseball, particularly the Old Town team, the local 9, and let's make it happen.
You aren't Peter Anthony Stiller, the American newspaperman, are you?
I am Peter Anthony Stiller. Yes, I am. And I'm a Boston kid. I grew up in Cambridge, technically. And, you know, when I knew Mr. Hopwood, our host here, this is when I was living in California. And we were both living in California.
That's how you would have known me in California.
We worked for the same company, and that's where we met. The company has since gone, you know, is pushing up daisies.
What was the term they?
Yeah, we've tried to keep in touch over the years, and
what was the Army term?
Here we are.
What was the Army term used for information access company? It went tits up in a ditch.
Yes, I was not going to use that terminology, but that says it beautifully. They did go tits up in a ditch.
Okay.
I think the cause of death was it was like, as the name suggests, it was an information-oriented company, and they came upon the strategy when the internet arrived to ignore it completely, and
yeah, remember?
You know, led to its demise ultimately.
Yes, the Yahoo did succeed for quite a while. And we had Larry Ellison. Remember, they had Oracle. We used to hear stories about him and his his exploits as a businessman. They now have a presence in Manchester, New Hampshire.
No kidding.
Yes. Hey,
Gee,
what?
I did not know that. I knew like Oracle was right down the street from IAC in Belmont, California, which actually was where I had my home at that time.
Is that where you got?
I'm not surprised that to see Larry Ellison has done so well over the years.
Now, did that Contra Tom happen at the Lariat in Belmont, or was that at the Stardust in Burlingame? Or should we not talk about such things?
I didn't quite catch that. Could you run that again?
No, we'll edit that out of the show. Peter, what newspaper do you work for?
I work for the Greenfield, Massachusetts Recorder. Greenfields is which, for most people in Massachusetts, it's something they never heard of. I certainly never heard of it, but we're tucked away in the northern Pioneer Valley. So we're reasonably close to Amherst, Northampton, that area.
Hey, we have his picture, but I'll bring it up. And you're a sister paper to the Pulitzer Prize winning Concord Monitor, are you not?
Yes, we are. Yes, we are.
What did you? What was your job before that? Didn't you write the Dear Abu column in the Arab Gazette?
Yes.
And I guess your stint as a Miss Lonely Hearts out there near Northampton and the the 5 or 7 Sisters, it didn't go over too well, did it, Peter?
No, it didn't. It's more like 2,700 sisters as opposed to 7. It's a rather strong feminist community in this neck of the woods.
Jeez,
and I'll probably leave it at that.
We won't go into the story about after the Anita Hill hearings. Well, we shouldn't be laughing about stuff like that. Hey, we have Peter on the computer. Could you bring his picture up? Peter, just a few words about our beloved Patriots. Talk about tits up in a ditch, huh?
Yeah, they did go boobs up. Going into the game, I'm not going to say that I predicted they would lose. I didn't. I thought that they would win, but I was having kind of uneasy feelings all week about this game. It was certainly thought that the Philadelphia Eagles were probably a better team than they were getting credit for around these parts, and the quarterback just played a fantastic game. Let's face it, he was making throws I didn't think he was capable of making, they played great. And it's kind of funny though, with all of us, if Brady doesn't fumble on that next to last possession, the Patriots probably win that game. But, I also think that the Patriots were sort of due to have the breaks not go their way entirely. So, hey, the other team scored more points. They deserved it. So, we'll get them next year.
Hey, you held on to your hair. We're looking at your picture.
Yeah. Where did you get my picture? I'm afraid to ask.
From the Recorder, the site. You're not very gray either. I'm going to take my hat off. I've become the distinguished gray, rather than like the drooling socialist that, that looks very popular now in New Hampshire. With a bag and you go into the McDonald's and you're screeching about socialism. I used to see it in New York City, and now it's here in New Hampshire. But yeah. Hey.
Yeah, that's me. Okay, yeah, it's amazing how you find these things. Yeah, that's me. And that's a fairly recent picture. So
that's what I used to do.
I'm still like devilishly handsome as always. And
we'll leave it at that.
I got most of my hair. I'm not as, I've got 2 little girls now, and they're always making fun of me because they're saying, "Daddy, you're running out of hair up there." And
are they taller than you now?
I got a little bit of a spacious spot on top, which it can't be seen in that picture, but I managed to cover it up fairly well.
Hey, we haven't seen each other in a few years. When you watch this, I got my head to the camera. Jeez, you know.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm looking forward to seeing it. You know.
It's been a while since I could do the comb over.
You mean like our president?
Oh, jeez. Let's not get into that. Hey, you know, it's interesting because the last Super Bowl, you know, all these fourth quarter, you know, runs that Brady was capable of. But it was like the last Super Bowl. It seemed that the other team had more energy, but then they flagged, you know, in the fourth quarter. The Eagles didn't flag in the fourth quarter, you know.
Well, yeah, you know, the
energy
the Patriots' defense was just, you know, they just could not get off the field. I mean, how many did the Eagles punt in that game? I'm not even sure.
Yeah, I remember once.
You know, the Eagles were moving the ball pretty much at will, and you know that was the difference. Patriots just could not get a key stop in the second half when they needed it. You know, and every time the Eagles needed a score, they got it, and
with the help.
That was that.
With the help of the official scorer, because that penultimate touchdown for the Eagles, that was really iffy.
Well, you know, yeah. I mean, I'm thinking back to that Pittsburgh Steelers game, and it looked pretty much like the same play almost, where the tight end didn't hold onto the ball all the way as he went into the end zone. So, you know, the NFL being the NFL, you know, they came up with some sort of like, you know, artistic variation on the rule, and you know, what the heck.
Well, you know, it's between being a receiver and being a running back, and technically, as he turns around and has a few steps, he becomes a running back. So then it just has to go and hit the ground, you know. Rather.
God, you sound like an apologist for Roger Goodell.
Jeez, you know, that was a great Super Bowl, and yet I was physically sick afterwards because could have been an even greater Super Bowl as a Patriots fan. But it was a great Super Bowl. An underdog, you know, it's only a 4-point underdog, a backup quarterback, and where's Garoppolo now? In San Francisco.
He is in San Francisco, and you know, that's our gift to the Bay Area, because I think he's going to be a pretty solid 49ers quarterback for years to come.
Oh, man. When I was in California, I was out there in 85, then it was 89 to, you know, the new millennium. And I saw at least three of them while I was living there, and they won one, so four. With Montana, and there was Steve Young.
Yeah, we were out there for the golden era. I mean, I got there in '89.
That's when I got there.
And and it was right before, I believe, their second Super Bowl, and then we saw the last three. That
was the third.
Steve Young one too. So I was, and let me tell you, those are fun parades out there when the 49ers have won. It's a great day, and it's a great day to be in a great place, and it was a lot of fun.
Well, you know, when we came from Massachusetts, the Patriots were the bottom of the barrel as a professional sport. It was the Red Sox. Then you'd go with the Bruins, and then even though the Celtics won everything, you know, well, they had a little color problem for Boston. You know, they were number 3, and Grogan and the Patriots were definitely 4. You go out to California, and I was a football town, and now New England is a football town, if you'd put it that way. But it was amazing when I was out there, because we went through 3. They won the one, 3. The other 2 were in the mid '80s, and then they made the transition. Remember, from Montana to Young, who was his backup. They sent Montana. Was it Kansas City? Right. He had one season left.
Yeah, Montana finished with the Chiefs, and I think they went to the AFC Championship game in his last year, and couldn't quite get that one done. But yeah, that was a great. The 49ers were a great team back then, and after Bill Walsh retired, they transitioned to George Seifert, who was a pretty good coach too.
Right.
And But eventually, it ran out of steam. But the thing that makes the Patriots so amazing is, let's face it, this is like 17 seasons now where they've been, pretty much at the top. And when the 49ers were winning, I'm pretty sure that was before the salary cap.
No, there was a cap. Remember? Because they had the two problems. Well, first off, Steve Young, who was making like $4.5 million a year, got 2 concussions, I think, in a season after he won the Super Bowl. And they had to really change the quarterback rules because that essentially was ending his effectiveness. I remember that was the first time they really talked about a concussion because he was the highest paid guy in football. And then DiBartolo, Eddie, remember, had a few problems with, remember his father allegedly was mobbed up, so he had the team. Then he was having problems because I guess not the Reagan administration, but the Justice Department was after him. They gave it to his sister, who didn't really care, but they got hit by the salary cap. They just didn't. It was in turmoil. But the idea that you can have I've never seen a quarterback like Brady, go on so long at such a level. I mean, he's won the MVP.
Oh yeah. Brady is definitely a specimen of some sorts. And the next time he gives a specimen, we might find out what kind.
Oh man, but, I was thinking the Eagles were just.
Let's face it, the guy is takes excellent care of himself, and anybody who's willing to go through life without a cheeseburger is deserves all the credit, I guess.
Well, he's got his guru, too, but we won't get into that. Now, Steve Young was done by 38, he retired. He only played 3 games when he was 38, Quarterbacks didn't last. Well, you remember Joe Namath. Jeez, those bad knees. Well, he hurt his knee in Alabama senior year. But remember in the 70s, the seasons that he'd play would get progressively shorter because everybody would tackle him at the knees. And then it was just Anne Margaret movies and commercials and appearances on Sonny and Cher.
Joe Namath was in a movie, I think he played a Civil War Confederate soldier or something, it was just like...
Oh, yeah. That first movie
Leonard Maltin said he made Ty Hardin look like John Gielgud.
I tell you what, I was thinking of C.C. and Company, which is a god-awful movie. But, Joe Namath was...
C.C. and Company. Oh, yeah, that's right. I think it was C.C. and Company. Am I thinking of an Elvis movie?
No, his first movie, he played a cowboy. But, Joe Namath was... no football player was ever as famous as Namath. Remember when we were kids? He was just as big as you can get. He was bigger than any. He was like almost what Babe Ruth must have been in the 20s. But
well, let's not throw the baby out with the bathwater here. Namath's claim to fame was that Super Bowl III.
Yeah.
This is the pre-merger day, so we're still talking AFL, NFL. And there were 2 Super Bowls prior to that, and the NFL team, kicked the buttocks of the AFL team very handily in the first 2 games. And then in Super Bowl III, Namath comes out and says he guarantees a win over the Baltimore Colts. And, everybody thought this guy is clearly nuts. And so they go out and they win Super Bowl III and kind of cement the legacy of the old American Football League, and then 2 years later they had the merger. So, and Namath was an excellent quarterback,
In his prime.
But, I think he's a soft, and I think it eventually got to him a little, plus the bad knees. But he was, I think he was, he walked around in the late 60s in Manhattan with, fur coats, and, he was...
Oh, yeah, Clyde used to.
That kind of guy.
Well, that was the times. You remember Clyde Frazier from the Knicks? He used to have his fur coat.
Yeah.
But, talking about the Super Bowl III, remember then Pete Rozelle started harassing him over his alleged mafia connections. And I always wondered... Why does Don Shula leave his Colts for the Dolphins? There was a lot of talk that was thrown, but that's something you can never prove. Is it possible? Yes. Probable? I don't know. But I'm just saying he was a superstar.
So. I have no reason
No, I'm just saying.
I mean, I haven't like looked into it that closely, and frankly, I hadn't heard that at all. I think that I think at that time it was due for a lot closer contest between the AFL team and the NFL team, and the Colts were probably very overconfident going into that game, and they got their comeuppance.
Well, one of the players, I can't remember, said that it was a fix many years later. Yeah, see, Bubba Smith. I just want to make sure. We had the families, we had a English sheepdog named Bubba after Bubba Smith. Bubba Smith claimed that it was fixed, but, that stuff. My point is that Joe Namath was, I don't think any football player was more famous than Joe Namath. He was a huge celebrity. He was definitely a big celebrity. There's no doubt. I mean, he was probably in the 60s, after Muhammad Ali. Oh yeah, Ali.
I don't even know who else. It's nobody in the NBA or MLB I can think of. Yeah, Joe Namath was a real star, no doubt.
Do you know that he was paid $450,000 a year? I just said that's worth $3.5 million in today's dollars. When the highest paid players probably like Hank Aaron got $100,000, and then Willie Mays I don't think ever got over $100,000. The first person to go $200,000 in baseball was Dick Allen. On his way out of his Hall of Fame career. Sulking. Hey, let's get
Dick Allen. I thought that was Mike Schmidt.
No, $200,000 was Dick Allen. Bill Veeck gave him. Hey, do you think that? Do you ever see Jim Thome in the Hall of Fame when we were watching him 20 years ago?
20 years ago, no, but eventually, it's the thing is, about Thome as opposed to some of these other guys who we played with at the same time, like and Frank Thomas is another one. Thome and Thomas, for some reason, managed to avoid all of the steroid speculation, and which, hey, listen, I'm not making any kind of judgments or anything like that. As I have no reason to think that Jim Thome used PEDs or Frank Thomas, but it was just sort of strange how, like, almost every other slugger of his era, like, people were, like, casting aspersions about, but except for Jim Thome. And, hey, great player.
But he's not a great he's not a great player.
He was kind of like the Harmon Killebrew of that era.
But he's not a great player, and he was never a Harmon Killebrew. He only finished once in the top 5 in MVP voting, and he only finished in the top 10 4 times in a 20-some-odd career. That's what gets me. Harmon Killebrew was a dominant player and was an MVP. This guy just hung on, and 612 home runs.
But Hopwood, what you're not,
I prefer the name Hop.
Ignoring here is that Hall of Fame voting has always been based on the cumulative. It's like, look at Don Sutton, okay?
Yeah, no kidding.
It was nobody's idea of a Hall of Famer. But the guy
number
ended
3
up winning
starter.
327 games or something like that. And when all is said and done, there are numbers that you just can't ignore.
Well, I don't think 600 home runs is worth a hoot anymore. I don't. Jim Thome was a very good player.
I don't think you can say that, because
I am saying it.
Is still a dinger. Even in the era when he was hitting them, there's still a lot of value to a guy who's going to hit 40 home runs for you every year, and
I see. Yes,
he hit them.
But Peter, he never even came close to an MVP award, even when he's hitting 52 dingers.
Yeah, there's a few guys who probably haven't come close to did Craig Biggio ever come close to an MVP award?
Yeah, I think he was, wasn't he? But he was considered one of the outstanding players of his time. Jim told me he was a very good player that you'd want on your team. And he was a clutch player, too. But I don't think he's a first ballot Hall of Famer.
Well, you know,
4 Gold Gloves.
Again, I think what they did, you know, they revert back to, you know, the career numbers. It used to be like 3,000 hits. You're like automatic lock.
You're right.
500 home runs. It used to be actually 400 home runs, but then eventually it got bumped up to 500.
No,
it's just like, you know, once those numbers are there, like a large majority of your, you know, baseball writers are going to, you know, as long as they don't think you are juicing, they're gonna vote for you.
I tell you, I think Roger Clemens. Well, we only got a couple minutes. What do you think we can get you back on again? What do you think the Red Sox, their chances are?
You know, not great. You know, you take last year's Yankees team and add Giancarlo Stanton to it. It's tough, you know.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, I think the Red Sox have taken a lot of like heat lately, and haven't really deserved it. You know, it's a team that's won 2 straight division titles, one with 93 wins each season, and you know, hey, listen, and there's no reason to think that they probably won't approximate that this year, but I don't know. The thing is, it's just like they need a power bat,
and they don't have it.
Yeah, and you know, to even consider like that, did you grow up ever thinking that the Red Sox would be last in the American League in home runs?
Oh, geez,
It's inconceivable.
I would think it was we that had the 260 dingers, and we come in third, right? If the Baltimore's right.
Yeah.
Hey, just a note. We got 5 more minutes? Oh, 2 minutes. 9 players have hit 500 home runs and aren't in the Hall of Fame, only one of which, David Ortiz, likely will become until, you know, they let Barry Bonds in. And 3 that have hit 600. I mean, you know, it's it's like you're right, the Don Sutton was a number 3 starter, never won 20 games, but he racks up 320 some odd victories. But hey, one of the greatest players, I hate to say it, number 2 of the Yankees, Jeter, inexplicably didn't win 2 MVPs, which he came very close to. You know, the BBWA, the writers, I think they should be horsewhipped. In fact, we're trying to get a writer from the BBWA on here so we can horsewhip him. But don't
well,
tell him.
You know, the thing is, you know, okay.
Wrap it up, kid.
Things, you know, I think this year, I think, okay. But I'm thinking Trevor Hoffman. No. You know, I mean, I just don't see it, you know.
Well, Lee Smith was
obviously the guy played at San Diego. I didn't see a heck of a lot of them.
The great San Diego Padres. The San Diego Padres. Come on, you know.
You know, to me, if you're going to go with Trevor Hoffman, like, you know, can Lee Smith be far behind? You know,
I would put Lee Smith in first. Hey, we got to say so long. We'll have you back again. You have this certain effervescence, and you use funny voices.
I've achieved negative buoyancy.
Well, let's not get into Al Campanis. Mr. Baseball is from Los Angeles. Hey, take it easy, Peter. Thank you. Until next time. What is it?
All right, till next time.
Aaron Judge, what do you think? Legit?
Legit, just...
Not on the juice?
No, I don't think so. He's chasing those sliders outside right now, and
yeah, he's in a little bit of a slump. Yeah, well, I
get
think
a little
the whole team
discipline.
is a little bit. Yeah.
Sanchez is playing well.
Yeah, but his defense is not good.
Castro and Holiday out hurts.
Yeah, but they're going on a rehab assignment this week.
Yeah.
So they should be back next week.
Yeah.
So which is a good thing.
Yeah, they could go down September and do well.
You know, I tell you, with Jeter being one of the owners of the Marlins, I think
he's going to help the Yankees in a big, massive trade.
Why would he do
I
that?
think their best hitter there, Stanton.
Stanton.
Yeah,
Giancarlo.
I think he's coming to New York.